All right. As y'all know, I was very disappointed about the Ban the Box Symposium. What I thought, what I thought the Ban the Box Symposium would be a place where people are actively working to create solutions for those people that have been, especially those people that have been falsely accused and convicted. What the symposium really turned out to be was just to generate interest in banning the box, period, and sticking to whatever the traditions and values were. Now, like I said, I think God puts me in a path for a certain reason to learn certain things. Ironically, this is the second quote unquote public place that I've been to where there was a situation where traditions were held in place. The first one that you may not realize at first was when I went to the church and they were talking about tradition. Ironically, I just went to the church just to go because I was curious about what that particular church was about. But they were talking about traditions and how they were talking about the circumcision and traditions and how God told them that they had to be circumcised at first. That first, there were no Christians until Jesus came. And then when Jesus came, and before Jesus came, God told them that the men need to be circumcised. Then after Jesus came, they were saying it was a new covenant and that didn't need to be circumcised, but it did not make sense to me. If God made him that way, then why would he need to be circumcised? He tells you to do one thing and then tells something else. And to me, that just seems like man-made law. And the truth is, you can have a direct connection with God, but they're saying the only way to go to God is to go through Jesus. But what you're doing is you're always allowing there to be an intermediary. And I was saying I spoke from personal experience that you can't, and again, excuse this, but you can have a direct relation. I came back late last night and was putting away the laundry or whatever. So you see bras and all kinds of stuff back there, and of course the bags. Everything back here is that you see is clean. Okay, and the bottles that you see are from my pedicure station for the water refills and stuff. But I said I spoke from personal experience that you can have a direct connection, and it's not true that you can't be sinless or whatever, but that's programmed into us, and we end up because up until 16 or 17 I was, you know, and he was just like, well, that's not what the word says, and I was like, oh, I understand that, but I'm just saying that that's my personal experience. He says, "With your personal experience doesn't supersede the word." No, it doesn't. I'm just sharing my personal experience. That's all. And it's just like, and then with this thing about the band of box, I think that it was known that I had something to say. I didn't turn around, so I couldn't see, um, the audience's reaction. There were people that were members of faculty. There were other types of people that were there. And no one approached me to say, what was it that you wanted to say? Because I don't know if, the only question that I asked, and I was trying to get to that point, was just real simple. And again, I didn't want to appear a certain way. So whenever there's questions and I have something that's pressing, I should let other people, but nobody else wanted to go. I should let other people go first so that I could see, the cadence. But what ends up happening is that I get kind of run over and pushed out. But the only thing that I asked was, with, situations, there are people that are actually innocent that are convicted, you know, and those are victims of the criminal justice system. In your walk, have you ever come across those types of people? And so he went into this long thing about, oh yes, I do, and this guy, and now he's something something, a judicial clerk and blah blah blah. But and I was like, well, my question is, do you have any resources or any outreach programs that you know of, websites or anything that deal with that? And then he just says the Innocence Project. And it was the way that he said it was a total blow off. Like, go there, don't talk to me about that crap. And then for the rest, and I didn't know what to say. I was just silenced. And I said, okay. I just left it at that. And I don't know how it comes off because I'm so diplomatic. People don't know. But the rest of the thing, they went on to say, well, we need to work as a community, this, that, and the other. But if you're talking about working as a community, banning the box is not going to put you in a situation where you're working as community. That's giving the power to someone else. If you're working as a community, you're actively taking an interest in these people and creating jobs and specifically getting to know these people. I was just absolutely shocked. And part of me, when I get this drive, I want to go down to the Florida whatever. News 10 was there. I want to go down there and, I want to express. You got to make people care. I don't know how to make people care. You have to incite in them some type of passion, get a response, get a reaction. So disappointed. But I said I was going to share to you my thoughts because I really, again, disappointed. And you could feel, like I said, that I don't even know how to describe it. The one thing that they mentioned was hopelessness. He said, well, you have to have hope in this, that, and the other. And he said the hopelessness was due to lack of education that the people have encountered that are in the lesser known segment. The hopelessness is due to lack of education. And, my statement was that, it has nothing to do with education. There are people that have been innocent, that are educated, that are victims of the criminal justice system. And, that's when I asked them if they've ever encountered lesser known segment of people that are victims. Because I think that's something that people need to be educated about. And that's when he told me, just Innocence Project. Absolutely not. Those organizations, Innocence Project, when I was going through my thing, I contacted every single thing I could. NAACP, you got voicemail is full. I thought it's surely a big organization like that. I thought for sure, they would have more going on than that, And the solution is, is grassroots. We can't push it off to some bigger organization, And one of the panelists stated that your voice can be a big voice in saying enough is enough. And, I probably should have intervened and just jumped up and said it. The solution to those that have been silenced through disenfranchisement and mutability is to stand as a community. We can't continue to say this group or this organization has it. We have to ask ourselves, does this matter to me? And if so, what can I personally do? You can't stop at banning the box, but you have to continue on to grow the individual. And they were talking about it was a way to outcast people that seem to be different. That would be me. They said the average minimum wage worker is one of the things that I saw on Black Planet. The average minimum wage worker, and this is just something somebody posted, I didn't verify it, is 36 years old. And my response to that person was, how many of those are victims of the criminal justice system? My comment was deleted, but I reposted it on my page. And we do have to speak up for those voices that are not permitted to be heard. The only way we can know is to care, and if we care, we have to get to know someone in that situation so we can be the voice for the muted. People that are isolated from society because of this. And a young boy came up and he asked, how do you implement that through education? Not what I said because I didn't get a chance to say it. And one of the ladies responded, you're not going to get it through the education system, and you're not. Because it's not there for that purpose. You got to get out and talk to people. crazy. So it's putting me a feeling like something needs to be done. And like I said, I feel like those places, like I said, are not always what they're supposed to be, because it was obvious that they weren't there to, you know, to help people. You know, it's just, you have to put a drive in somebody. You have to put fire under somebody to help, you know. And it just put that back in me. And as y'all know, last week I opened up my 30-day bus pass or whatever, and I haven't used it in a whole week. I used it for this. I think it was a good use because I needed to be aware of, you know, how people interact and act. So I need to maybe visit churches and speak. But it's like I have the knowledge that what I'm saying is not going to be good with a lot of people. But that guy that was 26 years or whatever, you know, I guess you have to convince people that it is their concern, it is their problem, you know. Um, I don't know, but I doubt if he contacts me. Or matter of fact, if anyone does, I don't know, you know, what to say about that. I don't know what to do. I really don't. I don't know what to do. So I do know what to do, but I can't do it right now because I need to find a job. But I mean, it's just, and there's some changes that are going on here too. And again, it's always this weird thing. Like, I need to talk to the person that owns the place and find out kind of what's going on. Um, it's nothing major, but obviously there's something that's going on, and so I need to, you know, talk to him and find out what's what. And I plan to. I usually don't go out in a common area, and but I'm going to. I'm going to. I am going to. So yeah. Anyways, good morning.